Were you familiar with the video game? Because evidently that was a pretty big deal when it first came out.
I was through the TV show. I don't even know if I had a computer. I don't think I knew about the game so much until it was time to start auditioning for the show. You know, I did a lot of mall shows back in those days. I remember the first time we went to Pittsburgh, and they were giving away a computer, and they were bringing us in. And I think they had 10,000 people there.
Wow.
It was kind of amazing.
Wow.
So I think we did fairly soon that it was pretty popular.
Alright, today's a very special episode of Rangel's Angle. On this channel, we've done everything from play with finger skateboards, to draw with gel pens, to try Kylie Jenner's ramen noodle soup, to Paris Hilton's macaroni and cheese recipe. Okay, yes, and we made butter. There were a few things my mom didn't like, but hey, it's butter. You gotta make it interesting somehow, right? I do all this stuff in the name of comedy, but a lot of people might find it hard to believe. It wasn't comedy, really, that made me want to get in front of the camera in the first place. It was game shows. That's right, yours truly has been a game show buff ever since birth. Ever since I was a kid, I wanted to be a game show host. I wanted to wear a suit, the set, the music, the lights, all of it. And if you're about my age and didn't at least watch this show, well, there's a few other questions I'd like to ask you. Here's a man I definitely remember trying to imitate in my South suburban Chicago home in the 1990s. A man humble enough to say that he didn't even think he was the star of the very show he hosted. The Acme special agent in charge of training new recruits, and the star of Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, my friend, Greg Lee. All right, so Greg, you've done many things in the world of entertainment. You've done voiceovers, you've done commercials, you've done audience warm-up. You've even done music, like in the Carmen Sandiego Out of This World, album. And we're going to talk about that in a second. Like I told you, I got a very funny story of how I got a hold of this cassette right here. People like me will always remember you as the host of Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, or Mayor White on Doug. I used to love Doug as a kid. Did you always have your heart set on working in the entertainment industry?
No, I have to tell you, I've been very fortunate, and I'm very happy to have worked in this for the last 30 years or so, but it was certainly not my plan at all. I come from a long line of preachers. Mm-hmm. So I was supposed to be a preacher, and that's what I was since I was a little kid.
Wow.
Then for a variety of reasons, I take a break. I grew up in Nebraska and Oklahoma. Sure. Outside of Kansas City. I had a couple of buddies in New York City, so I went out there to see them, and just figured I'd stay for a while, and then I kind of stayed a little longer, and then I started doing, I was waiting tables, and I was a security guard for a while.
Sure. Gotta pay the bills, right?
Yeah, I taught English down in Chinatown, and a bunch of stuff. And then, I just kind of fell into it. A guy that I knew, actually the guy who did Doug, eventually, he and I used to do Sunday school classes for little kids.
Are you talking about Jim Jenkins?
Yeah, Jim Jenkins.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so we used to do Bible hour together. We used to do Sunday school together.
Oh, very nice.
He worked at the Children's Television Workshop. Some of my first job I got was from him. It's an old show on CBS. I bet you won't be able to find it, but it was called Dr. Fad, F-A-D. Mm-hmm. It was a great show. CBS, Saturday morning, probably would have been about 88, something like that. It was a great show, and it was like kids inventing stuff. Yeah, it was really cool. So I got that job doing audience warm-up, and he said it was sort of like preaching without songs.
Mm-hmm. One of your first TV hosting gigs before Carmen, before Doug even, was Total Panic on Nickelodeon.
Man, you're amazing, dude.
Oh, really? You got to play games. You got to, introduce music videos, interview celebrities.
Yeah, that was a big break for me in the sense that they trusted me a lot with that show because I'd never really hosted anything before. For them, I was doing audience warm-up because that's what I was doing a lot at that time. It was really fun. I liked that job. So I was doing, for that show, audience warm-up and announcing. Mm-hmm. And that was like a 3-hour live show on Sunday morning.
Mm-hmm, that's right.
When they lost one of their hosts, I think Keith Diamond was his name, and they asked me to do it. So they were really great. All of those people were really great just to give me, a chance to try to do that. And it was great because it was interviews, and it was games, and it was pros, and all kinds of stuff. And I think one of the first guys I interviewed was a guy named Walter. His name was Walter Cronkite. You ever heard of him?
Yeah, the news guy, right?
Yeah.
You interviewed him?
It was huge, man.
Oh, that's a big deal.
He'd been retired for a few years, so he came out with his kid, and that's on YouTube. I've seen that one on YouTube. We just referred to him as Walter, which is crazy.
At that point that you hosted Total Panic, I know you said that you were given an opportunity. Would you say that at that point you were comfortable with the idea of being a TV host, let alone in the entertainment industry?
That's a good question, actually. I've never been asked that. I thought I could probably pull it off, but it was a lot of stuff, and it was a lot of stuff I'd never done before. So I think just the my background in warm-up and preaching kind of helped me a little bit there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Preaching, religion is a lot about communication. After Total Panic, you were contestant coordinator on the second to last season of Double Dare, Family Double Dare.
Mark Summer is such a great guy. He really helped me a lot. But what was happening was when we were down in Orlando, they had opened up, it's gone now, the Universal Studios down there, where they had...
Oh, I missed those days, man.
Yeah, Nickelodeon Studios, all those would happen. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
When Total Panic ended, I stayed there for a while. They tried to find another show for me. But in the meantime, I was doing a little bit of writing, a little bit of audition for a bunch of shows. Yeah, they were really good, too. The great thing was that a lot of the Double Dare directors I worked with later on Carmen.
Mm-hmm.
Dana Calderwood, in particular, was one that I moved on to. It helped with my audition for Carmen because, I wasn't really as well-traveled as some of the other
candidates. How did you get the gig for Carmen? Because, Dana Calderwood did work on Double Dare. He was also the director of, Carmen Sandiego.
And then Howard Blumenthal, the creator of that show, I'd done a few pilots for him for some other things, too.
Sure. Were you familiar with the video game? Because evidently that was a pretty big deal when it first came out.
I was through the TV show. I don't even know if I had a computer. I don't think I knew about the game so much until it was time to start auditioning for the show. Sure,
yeah.
I think they said 300 guys, and they got down to the 3. I knew I wasn't going to get the show because, these guys had traveled a lot. They spoke a lot of language. They were very good on camera.
Mm-hmm.
And I just figured, maybe I'll get a warm-up gig out of this or something. So I was very thankful because it was a good experience, great friends, and met my wife on that show. So that was
very good, yeah. The show premiered September 30th, 1991. I pulled an article from the Los Angeles Times, actually. Kate Taylor, the co-executive producer, said that kids adore game shows, and game shows are relatively inexpensive to produce. I love game shows. Were you excited to be hosting a game show? Because being a game show buff, I've heard, Peter Marshall from Hollywood Squares, I heard he didn't want to host Hollywood Squares at first. I heard Howie Mandel, maybe you remember, he said that he did not want to host Deal or No Deal at first. Did you have maybe, a similar feel maybe to being offered Carmen?
I don't think I did. I think because I didn't ever have a career path so much at that point. I was just thrilled to have work and a job, and to me, they were really fun to do. It was sort of an extension of what I was doing.
Sure.
I think the cool thing about Carmen was that it wasn't just a game show, because I'd done enough game shows. To me, Carmen was kind of silly, and we had it's silly in a good way, We had the Rockapella guys who were great. We had some bits that we got to do, and that kind of grew over the 5 years. And that, to me, made it a little bit more than not putting down game shows, because I like game shows too, but it wasn't just a game show. It was sort of a game show with a little...
Yes, it's quite a different type of game show because, it's a very simple game. It's a very simple game, but I really think it was the way it was packaged, the music, it had the acapella music, it had the great colors, the set, the whole, 1940s, detective feel to it. Of course, when I was a kid, I didn't realize that was like a nod to the 1940s or anything, but I really do think that, that's what made the show what it was,
Oh, well, thanks. I think so, too. I think it had just a great look. Even for the time, even back then, by design was made to look a little older than time.
Now, the article also stated that PBS was not just going to air it that day during their children's programming block, but they were also going to air it during prime time to get the word out, because just 2 weeks prior, get this, PBS did not have a budget to promote the show.
That is I have no...
Oh, no? The whole shoestring budget thing, PBS not even having a budget to promote the show. Did you have high hopes for this show, or was it were you like Mark Summers, in Double Dare, he thought he was going to do 65 episodes and move on to something else?
I think 65 would have been great. It's probably just me, but I rarely go in the past too far. I don't live in the future too far. I try to live...
Now, did things go smoothly in the beginning production-wise?
Keith.
Yes.
That's a joke question, isn't it?
No, it's not.
Oh, my Lord. It was a disaster.
Oh, wasn't it?
Oh, man.
Mm-hmm.
We still laugh about it. That first year was just so hard. First off, we shot everything live, top to bottom. Every show, every time I went to Lynn's office, we shot it. As the years progressed, we learned to do all of Lynn's stuff, a week by itself, and then we'd do all the end-game map stuff by themselves.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, that first year we just did everything, and that was a mess, and that was really hard. And I'm not speaking out of school, because anybody who lived through that. But sometimes they would change the rules of the game from game to game. They would say, now, remember when you did this for the middle game? Now you're going to do this, and it's going to be this, and it's going to be... So it was really, really hard. But it was fun looking back on it. But man, was it tough. The end game, I remember in particular, that first season, when we were still working things out, was a mess because the way I used to do it was I would read for each place, right? They had to get 7 places, or 8 it was, or something like that at that time, in 45 seconds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Identify them on the map. Before I could say the name of the place, I would have to give them 3
clues. Yeah, I remember that.
Trivia. Do you remember that? But the problem was I was eating up their time by reading all these facts.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say its export is oil, blah, 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 in 1872, and you can get there by blah, 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 blah. Go to Madagascar. Madagascar, that's how it would work.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be eating up all of their time just trying to blaze through these facts. And, oh, man, parents were mad at us and that. Kids were mad, and everybody was mad.
Wow.
I finally realized quickly, we said, we can't be doing these more information. We just got to say the name of the thing.
Got to get to the point, right? Well, the show was a hit. You know, it was a winner of Daytime Emmys. It won a 1992 Peabody Award. In fact, in 2001, TV Guide listed it as number 47 of the 50 greatest game shows of all time.
Really?
Oh, you didn't know that? You did not know that?
I did not. No, I don't know this.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, that's a pretty big deal. A game show fan site I used to read when I was younger. In a review of your show, they said Greg Lee fits the Mark Summers mold, but is cool enough to relate to kids, geeky enough not to look like a poser. Oh, this one's my favorite. This one's my favorite, though. Jonathan Rabinovitz of the New York Times referred to you as a boyishly handsome host.
Oh, that's hilarious. Dude, I don't know where you're getting this. I've never heard this stuff.
When did you realize you had a hit on your hands?
Fairly soon, I think. I did a lot of mall shows back in those days. I remember the first time we went to Pittsburgh, and they were giving away a computer, and they were bringing us in. And I think they had 10,000 people there.
Wow.
Which was kind of amazing. Wow. So I think we did fairly soon that it was pretty popular.
What was it like to actually meet, your fans, your viewers, or even in the audience when you went on tour?
I think it was always a little bit surprising to me that anyone cared that I walked in the room. And I always feel like it's a little surprising. I hope I don't disappoint anybody, just because it's just going to be me. Mm-hmm. But past that, just hanging out with the kids, smart kids. Like, they were smart in that regard. They may have been, not in every instance, quote, the cool kids at their school, but because of this show,
they were cool.
Cool kids.
I don't think I would have won the bonus round, honestly. But it was fun.
I wouldn't have won the bonus round.
But it was fun. It was fun to watch, though. What was it like working with Rockapella? Because, I think the show wouldn't be the same. I think Rockapella, being the house band, I think really did something for the show.
Listen, I've always said this, and I really do mean this. I was never the star of Carmen Sandiego. The star of the show was Lynn, Rockapella, then Carmen, maybe Top Grunge, then maybe me.
Sure.
I'm fine with that. People were nuts to meet Lynn, and they were crazy about Rockapella. People don't even realize all the stuff they did for that show, as far as just the little things they would come up with on the fly, or the ways they would put music to some of the clues. Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of music, there were 2 albums released. There was the Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego soundtrack, and then there was this one that I'm holding in my hand right here, Carmen Sandiego, Out of This World, where you got to sing a few songs. Rockapella did some songs, of course. Lynn did a song. And I'm not just saying this. This is a pretty damn good album. You know what I mean? And do you want to know how I got it? You're a very good singer.
Oh, you're...
No, I'm being totally serious. Do you know how I got a copy of this album? Do you want to know how I got a copy of this album?
I'm going to say it was in a bargain bin for $1 at someplace.
How did you know? No,
But I was actually asked to come on because I think the guys didn't want to do it, or they couldn't come up with a deal for it. Yeah, that's probably one reason. You got these great singers, and we're not having them for this.
I know you said that you didn't even picture yourself in the entertainment industry. I mean, did you picture yourself as a singer? Because, like I said, I'm not just saying this, Half a World Away, my parents' song, the one you did, Cake for Breakfast. Come on, that is a good song.
I think they wrote some great tunes. I have to agree with you. I think some of those were just beautiful. Billy Strauss, Yazbek.
Did you have a hard time maybe recording the songs?
I grew up in the Church of Christ. It's all a cappella singing. I come from great singers in my family. I'm not one of them, but I come from great singers. And we sang all the time. Mm-hmm. So something I enjoy doing. I just don't think I'm very good at it. So I didn't feel uncomfortable with that at all. And again, I think just like with everything else, if the opportunity arises, I'm more than happy to do it. One thing that I do though, and have done for a long time, is write songs. When we were in Nashville for a show I used to do down there called Tokens, a lot of some of the world's greatest musicians, I got to record about 10 of my tunes. I've done the demos for those, but again, it's not because I think I'm a singer or want to be, but to write the stuff is a big deal to me.
Yeah, songwriting is fun. I've dabbled in it. Do you have any favorite types of music?
I really don't. I mean, it depends on what I'm doing, you know. I mean, when I'm writing in my office, it's always opera or jazz is what I listen to.
Well, I like jazz. Jazz is cool. Jazz and opera, I gotta be honest with you, that's PBS type music right there, I gotta say.
Yeah, I love it, man. I can get lost on that for a long, long time.
Of course, things come to an end. The show Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego ended in 1995 after 5 seasons. I remember being 5 years old and just randomly saying, I want to watch Carmen. What time is it on? My sister said 5, and my dad was like looking at the local TV list, and he's like, okay, Magic School Bus, Sesame Street. He's like, it's not listed anymore.
No, what a disaster.
Was it time for TV to just move on, or... It couldn't have been ratings.
That's the big mystery to me. And as far as I know, it was doing very, very well. It had something to do with piles of budgets. For some reason, they had money to do the next show, Where in Time. And I was even asked to host the next one.
Where in Time is Carmen Sandiego. Of course, me being a kid, I'm like, oh, okay, so it's back. New host, new set, new bonus round. You know what I mean? But it had a little more darker of a tone than Where in the World is. Yeah. And you were offered to do that show?
Yeah.
What happened?
And there was nothing against that show. I think they did a great job with it. It was just, I liked history and geography. By the 5th year, we really had our system down. So it's nothing against anybody, and they make the decisions they want. And I thought Where in Time was great. I thought everyone on there did a great job. Mm-hmm. By that time, my wife and I moved out to LA, and I was doing some sitcom stuff here and there.
Oh, okay, yeah. Like when I was 12, I've emailed PBS numerous times saying that if they don't bring back Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, they're not getting any pledge money from me. I still have not sent them any money. But
I think you should, look, not with me necessarily. Somebody should be doing some show about something like that. Here's the thing. I don't think our show was ever about places on a map. I really think it was more about, here's a place on a map, and at that place, there's where these people live who do this stuff and eat this kind of food and have this kind of history. That's important to know, and it's important for Americans to know that stuff. They always say, how are you going to teach a kid geography in this show? We don't teach them geography. We get them excited about knowing more about geography. That we can do.
No, that's a good point. One more question. This was not in the original script, but, I love game shows. You know that. I mean, everybody knows that by now. Nickelodeon, had so many game shows, on in the 90s. Carmen Sandiego was not on Nickelodeon, but I think it's up there. You know what I mean? I think, it's just as good as anything Nickelodeon put out. Why do you think these shows went out of style at some point? Because I will never understand that. Like executive producer of Carmen Sandiego said, game shows are inexpensive to produce and kids love them. I never understood why they went out of style.
It's a very good question. I'm not sure if I'm qualified to answer that, but I have a theory that when I was in Orlando, that's when they started. That year, I remember it started with Doug and Rugrats and Ren and Stimpy. All of those were gargantuan hits. Mm-hmm. You don't have to mess with getting an audience. You don't have to mess with keeping everybody safe. You can just do your scripts, lay out the voices, put the animation together, and then it's a huge, huge thing. I think it's just easier than it is to drag in 300 kids on school buses, keep them all happy and fed and watered and going to the bathroom. It's a thing, to do that. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry to see it go too. I thought it was a great time, and it was just a cool, fun thing to do. It was a lot of fun.
Sure, yeah. Before you tell me what you're doing right now, can you give my friend Katie a shout out? She actually dressed like Carmen Sandiego for Halloween. I'll send you the picture of that. It was a very good costume.
Sure, I love to see it. Well, hi, Katie. It's great to talk to you. Always happy to talk to an old gumshoe.
What are you doing right now?
I do small films every once in a while. I did one last year called Lost Treasure of the Valley, where I get to play a crazy adventurer who looks for shopping carts. My wife and I, we just finished writing a series for Audible and Highlights Magazine, Goofus and Gallant.
Oh, really? What are you doing? That was actually my favorite part of Highlights Magazine, Goofus and Gallant.
It's nice to hear you say that. A lot of people say that, yeah. So they asked, can you create a show? Figure out what a show would be.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it was really hard, but it was really great. It's an Audible thing, so you're going to hear it.
I know you have other things you got to do. I really want to thank you for letting me interview this.
Listen, you've been wonderful, man. You top to the bottom. You're really great. My pleasure. It's really nice to talk to you.
Let me just turn off the recording and then. Okay. You know, it's so nice to get to talk to someone I used to watch on TV as a kid. Big thanks again to Greg Lee for letting me interview him. If you like this interview, you'll be happy to know I definitely want to interview some more people in the future. I'll definitely start reaching out to a few more people. Some people you and I are both familiar with, and maybe some people you'll be learning about for the very first time. But don't forget to hit subscribe, because we definitely got more videos for you to watch on YouTube and Facebook. Either way, it's .com/Wrangel'sAngle. But right now, this would be the perfect time for us to play us out to the great theme song to Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego by Rockapella. Unfortunately, Keith was unable to secure the rights to play the Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego theme song by Rockapella. But then again, it's not like he really even tried. So instead, we'll play us out to some generic TV static. Thanks for watching, folks. Take it easy.
You've been disqualified.